Chapter 22-21 Liu Karen vs. Wood 4. After destroying the largest enemy fortress on the entire battlefield with one blow, Wood's eyes showed joy. According to his guess, the person who controls the crows should be in this place. His judgment was not without basis, because there are no other large shelters within a radius of 100 kilometers. To control such a large number of mechanical flying crows, the controller must be in a relatively safe area and be able to concentrate on controlling them. Looking around, this is the territory of the Wulwan Empire after all, and humans cannot find a fixed safe place. It would be great if I could kill you with just one blow like this. Wood took a deep breath and looked around again to confirm that there were no other shelters, secretly hoping that the mechanical crows would get out of control. But soon he was disappointed, because he saw with his own eyes a huge dark cloud flying in the distant sky. The more than 3,000 mechanical flying crows rushed towards him and arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye. Wood couldn't understand why. If he could destroy this super-large mechanical life form, then where could the enemy hide? He thought about it for a long time but couldn't figure it out. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something and raised his head abruptly. Hanging high in the sky, there are 3 huge super battleships. Could it be that she is there? Of course she was there. If Liu Karen is not on the super battleship, how can he ensure constant support for the entire battlefield? Only she can perfectly control these 3 super battleships on her own. Unfortunately, although Wood realized the problem, it was too late, because a large number of crows were already flocking towards him. And it was impossible for him to rush out of the protective circle of the Iron Curtain under the cover of the Iron Curtain and run over to fight with those 3 powerful super battleships. Wood had no choice but to activate the power of the word spirit again, turning his body into a mole and drilling into the ground. But this time, Liu Karen, who had already caught sight of him, would definitely not let him go. A flock of mechanical crows flapped their wings and flew over, diving directly into the pit where he escaped. The moment their bodies entered the ground, they underwent obvious changes and started the burrowing mode.
Run?
Where can you run to? A fierce look flashed in Liu Karen's eyes. This was her first time participating in such a major battle. She must achieve brilliant results and let brother Zhang Yi see her strength. After all, Zhang Yi has trusted her unconditionally over the years and has spent countless resources to train her. Otherwise, she would have died in the ice and snow when the end of the world just arrived. If you run, can others escape? Liu Karen snorted coldly and started the super battleship. The main gun roared, and the powerful energy cannon gushed out as if to penetrate the center of the earth, falling straight down and slamming heavily on the Iron Curtain of the sky. The Iron Curtain in the sky was shaking violently, but energy was still pouring in from other directions to support its shape. But suddenly, a strange phenomenon occurred. Liu Karen suddenly saw from the equipment that the huge energy shield covering the entire Wulwan Empire had disappeared.
Huh?
Liu Karen was stunned. She rubbed her eyes and seriously suspected that there was something wrong with her eyes. But he was not mistaken. What was displayed on the mechanical equipment was indeed the disappearance of the huge energy shield. Liu Karen found it a little unbelievable. This protective shield was one of their biggest troubles. Moreover, according to the current attack, it cannot be destroyed in a short time. The only way to use the main gun of the super battleship is to consume energy and provide fire cover for the coalition forces below. But it just disappeared? Liu Karen couldn't believe it. She thought about it, turned over and jumped off the chair, walked to the window and looked down. The Iron Curtain of the sky is colorless and transparent, but when it activates its offensive or defensive functions, the convergence of energy will cause changes in light and shadow, turning it into a gorgeous, dazzling blue. But looking down from the sky, one could only see the huge Wulwan Empire, but no longer any arcs of energy reaction. Is it really gone? Liu Karen felt a little puzzled until she saw a terrifying column of energy rising into the sky in the distant central city area and rushing into the dark cage. Only then did she suddenly realize what was happening. Elder brother. A hint of worry appeared in Liu Karen's eyes. because the energy response from the mechanical equipment showed that the level of energy had reached an unimaginable level. It was obvious that the gatekeeper of the underworld was requisitioning the power to support the Iron Curtain of the sky just to fight Zhang-Yi. Lu Karen shook his head vigorously. Believe in me, brother. At this time, I just need to do my job well. Lu Karen knew that there was no point in worrying about Zhang-Yi now, because no one was qualified to participate in a war of that level. Zhang-Yi has been preparing for so long. He has thought of almost every possibility, so Zhang-Yi will definitely not fail in this battle. With this belief, Lu Karen sat back at the console, his eyes burning, his hands operating the console rapidly. Since you have lifted the Iron Curtain, I will not be polite. Next, there was a spectacular sight of 3 suns flying in the sky, and powerful ultraviolet beams hit the entire Wulwan Empire, bringing huge destruction. At the same time, Lu Qian stared at the military formation of the Wulwan Empire. Without hesitation, she pressed the launch button. The main ship she was on aimed its main gun at the frontline army of the Wulwan Empire and launched an earth-shattering attack. The energy cannon was thick, rich, and filled with the breath of death and destruction. Each shot was equivalent to consuming the energy of 5 love-death gods. But the destructive power it brings is absolutely unimaginable. There was a temporary pause on the battlefield because of this dazzlingly bright light. The allied forces of both sides felt a sense of death crisis coming. The sky was dazzlingly bright, and a beam of blazing white light broke through the clouds and headed diagonally towards the army of the Wulwan Empire. It was like a punishment from God, falling so plainly and unpretentiously in the center of the army formation. Thousands of people at the center of the impact were vaporized on the spot. Even the mechanical war beasts made of steel could not withstand the astonishingly high temperature. The shock wave of energy swept across like autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. Wherever it passed, the bodies of the lizard men exploded directly, and a large number of giant mechanical war beasts were blown away like garbage bags. Chapter 22 Lu Karen vs. Wood 6. A huge mushroom cloud rose in the sky, and shock waves came one after another. Even the most advanced war machinery of the Wulwan Empire seemed so fragile under this blow. The human coalition did not advance rashly because they had received Lu Karen's warning in advance. However, the terrifying shockwave storm still made them feel like they were in the crater of an active volcano, and their hot bodies were about to melt. If they were not equipped with the most advanced combat uniforms, the intensity of the radiation alone at this distance would be enough to shatter their bodies and kill them. Because cells cannot withstand such high-intensity radiation. With just one strike, this line of defense was completely destroyed, revealing the road leading to the city of Dongqing District. And then, they just need to move forward and go straight to the central city area to threaten the lives of the royal family and the powerful. The human coalition was filled with jubilation. Under the arrangement of Yang Xinxin, Zhang Yi, and others, they fought extremely smoothly and were unstoppable. It went so smoothly that they couldn't even imagine it. After all, just a year ago, they were slaughtered like guinea pigs by the elite troops of the Wulwan Empire, and they didn't even have the slightest ability to resist. In just 1 year, the situation has reversed. They became hunters, and their prey was the lizard men of the Wulwan Empire. All this is thanks to Lord Chaos. Someone made such an exclamation. This is not bragging, but an ironclad fact. They are all elite warriors from the 6 major regions and are very clear about the current strength of Huashu Kingdom. If it weren't for the mechanical army provided by Zhang Yi and the 3 technologically advanced super battleships, most of them would have died in this battle. As expected, when war reaches a certain level, it no longer depends on numbers. It depends on cutting-edge technology and the confrontation between top-level aliens. These elite soldiers in the Huashu Kingdom's army were filled with emotion. Lu Karen's order came from the sky: don't rush to attack the central city. Sweep along the current path and kill every lizard man you encounter. Remember, our principle is, no lizard men will be spared. Yes, Master Luban. They responded to Lu Karen's orders very respectfully, which was a respect for the strong. Lu Karen knew very well that in the central city area, Yang Xinxin and the others were carrying out the most important mission. We cannot push the Wulwan Empire too hard. This blow frightened Wood, who was hiding under the ground. He was being chased by a large number of mechanical crows and could not escape at all. Although he can use the power of words to give himself the ability to burrow underground, he is not a real mole, and the stealth speed of this ability is limited. But those 3,000 mechanical flying crows were surrounding and attacking him from all angles underground. Wood was frightened by the breach of his defense line. If he continued to fight, he would be at an absolute disadvantage as the enemy knew all his personal information. But can he escape? At a time like this, even the weakest coward would not choose to run away, right? This is a war of genocide. There is no possibility of surrender. Before Wood had time to think, he heard strange quack sounds coming from all directions, like the god of death taking his life. More and more mechanical crows emerged from underground, chasing after him. Wood gritted his teeth and activated the power of the word spirit. Crush! Boom! The ground behind him collapsed instantly, and the soil became solid, trapping the chasing mechanical crows. Although directly using the ability on a large group of mechanical crows will cause the ability to backfire. However, it is still possible to use the characteristics of the earth to hinder them. But soon, the croaking sound of crows continued to be heard from other directions, just like the crows on the road to the underworld waiting to peck at the corpses of the dead. Moreover, Wood's ability can only temporarily delay the attack of the mechanical crows. The simple soil and rock layers are like sand in front of E-Metal's body and cannot stop their advance. The crows gave chase, attacking directly from a distance, their laser weapons piercing the thick earth and shooting towards Wood. Although its power was weakened, it still annoyed Wood. Escape is impossible, but if we fight, we must directly attack the opponent's body. Of those 3 warships, only one has the real body of the mechanical Raven controller on board. If I want to defeat her, I need to find a way to climb to an altitude of 2,000 meters, then accurately lock onto the target's position and assassinate her. The more Wood thought about it, the more hopeless he felt. The opponent has completely calculated all his abilities, so he is at an absolutely safe level. How can such a battle continue? Could it be that the Wulwan Empire will be destroyed today? Such pessimistic and terrifying thoughts emerged in Wood's mind, which frightened him. Grand Marshal, close the iron curtain of the sky and concentrate your energy on yourself. I hope you can save the Wulwan Empire. Wood could only pray like this in his heart. The mechanical crow's pursuit got closer and closer, and finally Wood realized a problem. He couldn't possibly fight these mechanical crows endlessly. If the defense line is breached and the human coalition forces attack the central city, he will still be sentenced to death. Wood was under great pressure at this time. With more than 3,000 mechanical flying crows, he had no time to react. He had to keep dealing with them. With the power of his words, he could only destroy 10 mechanical crows at a time. Otherwise, the reaction force would be so great that it would cause a slight pain in his brain. The continuous use of the power of words made him realize that he could not delay any longer. Otherwise, these 3,000 mechanical flying crows are too many and can completely exhaust him to death. This is no joke. The group of mechanical crows controlled by Lu Qian integrates the most powerful mechanical technology of the Zhongyuan clan and has an energy shield for use against aliens. If the person he faced was not Wood, but some other alien, it would be an overwhelming advantage. Wood gritted his teeth and tried hard to avoid the pursuit of the crows. He suddenly dived towards the ground. Then, the first thing he did after he appeared was to issue his word spirit command to the sky. Wind falling. Use the power of the storm to knock down the enemy. Lu Karen clearly felt that the air pressure around the super battleship had changed. A terrifying storm gathered in the sky, and around the super battleship, all kinds of dust, corpses, and debris on the ground were rolled up and surrounded the super battleship. Seeing the scene, Lu Karen licked the lollipop in his mouth and continued to control the crows to attack casually. With me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.